So June 4th, 1968, California primary, Democratic primary between Bobby Kennedy and Eugene McCarthy. And from the beginning of the Democratic primary race in '68, California was sort of the crown jewel of the primaries. The most delegates, it seems the most important state, and in many ways it was the last major primary. And so the winner of this race was going to end up heading into the convention in Chicago with the most momentum. And so when the race began, Kennedy had a huge lead, about 18-point lead, and McCarthy just chipped away at it day by day. Kennedy's support, as had often been the case throughout much of the primaries, came from African Americans, Mexican Americans, minority communities. And because of that strong support, Kennedy held off McCarthy and won the primary by narrowly won it. And on election night, he went down to the ballroom at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles to give his victory speech. And he actually gave one of the most magnanimous speeches of his entire campaign. He talked very positively about McCarthy, talked about the need for Democrats to come together now, and pledged to continue the fight to the convention in Chicago. And Kennedy finishes up, and he flashes a V sign for victory, and he runs his hand across his forelock, reminiscent of his slain brother. And then he says, see you in Chicago, and he steps off stage and heads through a pantry to go to a press conference. And in the pantry, there was a young man named Sirhan, who's angered about the U.S. support for Israel. He's a young Palestinian, and he fires a small revolver at Kennedy's head and hits him in the back of the head. And it's a tragic moment because for so many ways, but had this shot gone 1 inch to the left, 1 inch to the right, Kennedy probably would have survived. But he was hit in the back of the head, and it was a fatal wound. And one of the things about this that I think many people remember is that his body was flown back to New York. He was given a ceremony in New York, and then they took him on a train to Washington. And thousands, tens of thousands, 100,000 people came out on the train tracks to sort of watch the funeral train go from New York to Washington. And many people have speculated that had Kennedy lived, he would have been the nominee. And actually, it's probably not, almost certainly not true, actually. Kennedy has a certain mythology grown around him in the years since he died, for obvious reasons. But he was a very unpopular figure, actually, among key Democratic groups. The unions didn't like him. The political establishment didn't like him. A lot of suburban whites didn't like him. They thought he was too close to the African American community. And as he campaigned in 1968, his approval ratings steadily went down. He actually became more unpopular. More people saw him.